Hello and welcome to this weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Greek, and today we're going to be in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 15a, just the first half of verse 15. Let's begin by reading the Greek text. Ego de hedista dapaneso kai ek dapanathesomai huper tom psukon humon. Translation. But I very gladly will spend and be thoroughly spent out on behalf of your souls. Now here we hear the passion of the Apostle Paul. His concern is for his converts, for the Christians in Corinth, and though others might accuse him of selfish motives, of wanting to enrich himself or get status, he's willing to completely and thoroughly spend all of his time and resources on behalf of them, and to be thoroughly spent out for the good of their souls. Let's look at a few more things in this text. I want to note my dependence here in a few of these comments on Frederick Long and his Baylor Handbook on the Greek Text. He recently published the volume on 2 Corinthians, Frederick Long, the Baylor Handbook on the Greek Text, which I commend to you. Long pointed out to me in reading his text that there's an interesting chiastic pattern here. You may know how a chiasm will have an A and then a B and then go back out a B prime and an A prime with sort of paralleling ideas in an in and out pattern. And we see that here where we have the pronoun I here, we'll call that A, and then we have the humon there, we call that A prime. And then we have spend here, we can call this B, and be spent out, we'll call that B prime. It's an interesting chiastic, it's called a chiastic pattern. There's a few other interesting things we can note in this text. This adverb, hedista, you may not be familiar with that form, but you may know more commonly, heideos. The more common form of this, just the regular form, is heideos, meaning gladly. It's an adverb of manner. That os ending is the most common adverb ending in Greek, similar to ly in English. But here we have ista. And you may know when you learned comparative and superlative forms of adjectives, you remember you learned teras is a comparative adjective, or tatas is a superlative adjective. You may remember that along with tatas, you probably also learned istas. And one way to remember that is in English, the superlative form of the adjective is an est sound, similar sound there to the Greek. So istas, this is ista. So this hedista is actually a superlative form. So that's why many English translations will translate it most gladly. Now clearly it has an elative sense. There's no comparison really here of gladness. So translating it very gladly or very, very gladly is a good translation also. So an elative, superlative form of the adverb here, very gladly. And here we have dapaneso. Paul says he will gladly spend, using this financial language, but clearly referring beyond finances, including them, but certainly beyond them. The lexical form here is dapanao, to spend. And when we compare this with the form in the verse, you'll notice that we have a sigma here, right? There's a sigma, there's nothing on the beginning. So when you have a sigma added in and nothing on the beginning, you should think future, and you're on the right track. Notice how the contract vowel has lengthened here. If you look above, it lengthens to an eta. You see that right there? Because when you have a contract verb, that is a verb that ends in omicron, the stem ends in omicron, alpha, or epsilon, those contract vowels will lengthen when you have a tense formative added. So omicron will lengthen to an omega, alpha will lengthen to eta, epsilon will lengthen to eta. So we're not surprised at all by that lengthening. And then we just have the first person up above here. We have just the first person singular ending. So this is a future active indicative first singular. I will spend. Then we have a compounded form of dapanao. After this, the lexical form there is ek dapanao. It's pretty transparent, isn't it, as to how that works? So you have the prepositional prefix ek, and then we have dapanao. And this ek, it would seem, serves to intensify. So dapanao means to spend. Ek dapanao ekadopanao means to thoroughly spend, or completely or wholly spend. And of course, this is a passive form, so it's translated here, be entirely spent. This word ekdapanao, again, Long notes this in his 2 Corinthians commentary or handbook on the Greek text in the Baylor series. He notes this is a hopox legomenon. And this is frequently transliterated in that way in English, hopox legomenon, but it's actually, isn't it? It's just from the Greek. It's literally, it's a transliteration of hopox legomenon. And I assume most of you know this, but it literally means once spoken, meaning that this verb, this compound verb, ekdapanao, only occurs one time in the Greek New Testament. That's what a hopox is. Sometimes it will just be referred to as hopox. Oh, this is a hopox, meaning it occurs one time in the Greek New Testament. Now, when you look at this lexical form down here, ekdapanao, and you compare it with the form above in the verse here, ekdapane thesamai, what do you see there that helps you parse that? Well, you see there's a theta right there, and that's just yelling out at you. Right, that theta is like a big easy chair where someone is kicking back. They've got their remote control. They're feeling very passive. If there were an augment, remember augments on compound verbs would occur here. If there were an augment, it would be there. There is no augment. We might think it's an aorist passive, but there is no augment, and so we're thinking it's future passive, and it is. This thesamai, that's just a future passive indicative first person singular. I will be spent. Remember, there's an intensive sense to it by this ek. It intensifies the verb. So I will be entirely spent on behalf of your souls, or for your souls. In addition to just enjoying the Greek here and soaking in the text, let this text be a challenge to those of us in ministry, that we would not seek our status, we would not seek financial gain, but that we would spend ourselves out on behalf of those to whom we minister, and be entirely and thoroughly spent out on behalf of the good of their souls.